So for families, something they can do is keep in constant communication with their children, knowing what they're doing online. Our last subject is cyberbullying. This is something you want to support your child and problem solve together with for parents. You can block the cyberbully once you know this is occurring with your child. When dealing with cyberbullies, you can report any accounts to cybertiponline.org, and that way they can shut down these accounts too as well. Something to remember is if these subjects come up, you're supposed to talk with your child to come up with a plan on how to combat these. For more information, please see the link. And as always, be safe, and if you need anything, please contact the Oregon Police Department.
During this period of school closure, it's important to interact with your children and to help set boundaries and limits around online conduct. And the Oregon School District
And the Oregon Police Department
are partners with you in the learning that's going to occur from this point. And again, we want you to keep everybody happy, healthy, and safe. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you.
Hi. I'm your retirement fear, but don't be scared. You're still in pre-retirement.
Does that mean I have more time to plan?
Precisely. Here, this is pretirement.org.
Retirement savings options? Potential tax breaks?
Ooh,
This isn't scary. I'm doing it.
you got this.
Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan.
Store your gun securely, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo.
Welcome to the Oregon Area Fire EMS District Commission meeting. Item 1, call the meeting to order. Roll call. Fire Commission, Tim Higgins. Here. Tim LeBron. Here. Jeff Hodgson is absent. Phil Van Campen. Here. Kent Knudsen is here. Town Board of Dunn.
The Town Board of Dunn is not here tonight, but I'm here to take notes for them. Kathy Haslinger, the clerk.
Town Board of Oregon.
Town board is just barely here tonight.
Sufficiently.
So we'll call that meeting to order. Tim Brun is here, Laura Fitzgerald's here, Carl Walter here.
Town of Rutland. Michelle Purse is absent. Sue Williams. Here. Jim Dorn. Here. Mark Porter.
Here.
Call the meeting to order. Village Board of Oregon.
I'll call the village board to order. Ask clerk to call the roll.
Higgins.
Here.
Kirchhofer.
Here.
Knipfer. Here. Lees.
Here.
Marks.
Here.
McDaniel. Here. And Van Camp.
Here.
Item 2, review 2026 budget performance. Chief.
So in your packets that village staff put out for the fire district, and thank you for doing that, you can kind of see where we are through 6 months of the year. I take any questions on it. We are doing good. When I say good, I mean I don't see any red flags or anything like that, and we'll probably keep it in budget like we have for Phil. How long has I been here? Quite a few years, and knock on wood, we have not put one in the red yet. So we continue to try to make sure we stay within our budget means. What's that?
That sounded like a challenge.
Something would have to really, really go bad, which could, but, you know, knock on wood, we hope that we've got the funds to be able to handle those emergencies where needed.
Any questions?
Thank you.
If not, move on to B. Review draft 2027 district budget and 2027 through 2036 capital improvement plan.
So if we can, Ken, and if we can kind of break these up, two different things. So 2B is basically the 2027 proposed budget for the fire district. And to kind of give you a little history on that, we went back with our fire commissioner already starting back in April. We started to bring stuff to them as far as looking at updating our capital plan overall, because we were not in our 10-year plan anymore. We're down to about 6 years left of our plan, as I recall. And then we also started looking at our budget for 2027 and that kind of stuff. And of course, the biggest things, as most of you that have been with me for multiple years here, what's our biggest line expense is the men and women of our operations, our part-time staff and our full-time staff. That's what is the largest item. And then the second part of that, of course, is the benefit plan or the health care that goes with that. I think we're all on the same page on that kind of thing. So what we also have kind of like running parallel to that is we have a staffing plan that we've had in place for a few years, and the commission looked at that. This next year's budget is hiring one more firefighter medic for the fire district. In our staffing plan, it was supposed to be 2. Myself, our work team, which also included the village administrator, we looked at things, and then our goal was basically to kind of keep everything within the levy limits of a fire district so that we can levy back our max and we can operate accordingly, and that's what we did. So we cut back on 2 full-time firefighters next year because the room wasn't there with the rest of the things that are happening inside of our budget. So we got 1 full-time firefighter there. The only caveat that would change that, if we would be so lucky that we would get an AFG grant from the federal government, we are in the running right now, then we would have that funding that would take care of that. And everything except for about 33% of the cost that would come back to us. And at that point, it's like $33,000 or thereabouts that we would be adding in, plus some benefits here or there. But most of that money is taken care of if it happened. And that is probably got a very slim chance of happening. So I'm not looking at that even not happening at all. So in this budget, we have 1 full-time firefighter, and then we're just maintaining all the rest of this stuff. The other thing that basically has happened in this last year, we are looking at, of course, replacing one of our engines, an engine that we bought from the city of Fitchburg back in 2017. We bought that as a used truck. We figured we'd have that for about 8-10 years when we bought that. We're at that life basically, and that was a used truck when we bought it. So in here, we're basically taking a couple $100,000 towards the purchase of a new truck for 2027 that will be levied back inside of this budget. So that's where it basically is. To date, unless something changed, and I don't believe so, and Lisa's gone tonight from finance from the village, but we did not get I don't believe our equalized valuation numbers, and we didn't get our finals on any of our health care and all that other kind of stuff that kind of drives them benefit packages. So those numbers, of course, will change a little bit between here and the end of September, but for the most part, this is pretty a very well-rounded, rough draft. And at the last commission meeting, the second or third time looking at this, the commission actually approved this to move it forward to this group so we can have some discussion tonight and go forward. So I'll take any questions, but it's commission members, anything to add about next year's budget? Okay. Sue?
If we were to get the grant, how many years does the grant pay those salaries?
3 years. 3 years.
So then after 3 years, we absorb the salaries?
That's correct, 100%. Yeah. And those grants have been going around the country the last few years. Little different administration, of course, in Washington, as we're all aware. Those funds are still there. That program's still out there to help municipalities make that happen. Just a little bit more red tape and, dotting I's a couple times and crossing the T's probably 4 or 5 times to make it mild. If that makes anything. Yes, sir.
Sir, yeah, quick question on the grant. So it's an AFG grant? Is that?
That's an AFG grant.
Who's that from in the federal government?
FEMA.
Okay.
FEMA.
And then, do they put any caveats on that? It's just personnel or is it equipment as well?
This is no equipment. This is strictly 100% career personnel, men and women on the front line.
Thank you.
Good question. Thank you. Anything else? But that's where we are with next year's budget, sir.
Thank you. 10-year CIP proposal. You turn to your pages. This would be 7S, 8C.
So we updated our plan. Martin and I have been talking multiple times, quite frequently, just about funds and all kinds of different things that are happening in the fire district and inside the village of Oregon per se. And before I go any further, by all means, I'm more than happy to come to any of the town board meetings or anything else. I know I spend a lot of time with the village. They're one of our largest members of the fire district. But at that same point, like I've always said for many, many years, townships, I'm there for you 24/7, 7 days a week, and I'll come to any meetings, answer any questions, or take anything else. I think, Tim, you're aware of that, Mark, over the years, all that kind of stuff. So what we did is we took a look at this. We're getting down to basically 6 years. We looked at this again, kind of talked to Martin, we put some things in here, and there could be some hot topic items in here, and probably some people say, hey, what about this, and what about that, and all that, those kind of things. The biggest thing, there's a couple of different things. Of course, you know that we are looking at doing something with the facility, probably at that location and that kind of stuff. And inside of this 10-year, this new 10-year window, this has kind of have this built in with some projections, some real rough numbers from some of our, from our consulting group and that kind of thing. And also some of the things that our current commission basically somewhat decided. Of course, you got the commission and you got all of the district partners that make large decisions, and I know there's different variations and different thoughts and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, one of the things that at least the commission at the time this was put together, they're kind of looking at 3 phases. And those phases are kind of like you revitalizing the current 25-year-old building that you have at that location. And probably updating the apparatus bay, and then doing something to the building, and then taking care of the decon and some of the rest of the stuff inside of that facility. So there'll probably be about 3 phases in there, and that's over a period of a couple of years, and Martin and I have kind of talked and worked these things out, and things are probably pretty close, but they're probably, again, they're a capital plan with a projection, with the understanding that things are probably gonna be flexible and move around a little bit. So that's where things are. The other thing is that has been happening over the last 10 years that I've been here now, we've had these CIPs in place and we've been working through them and everything else. There are some things that we have collectively not replaced because we know we're doing something with the building. Meaning like $100,000 for an air compressor for breathing Cascade air. The one that we have is like 27 years old, and we keep putting money into it, but we're really not replacing it because in a new facility or an upgrade facility, there will be some changes where the bottles and this stuff wouldn't be down where the men and women are, all this other kind of stuff. So in this capital plan, you'll see on the right-hand side, a lot of things are broke out so that if something happened to me, or if I ever left, and any of the above, that the next person coming in is not gonna be like left in the dark, that this stuff is there. It is not gonna be, hey, somebody forgot about something. Literally everything we have, from 25 air packs at $7,000 a piece, their replacement, our monitors, all of our defibs, anything that happens in our operations is in this document. So I take any questions and anything of that nature, but this is a pretty good snapshot of where it is. And again, we've been working on and off with the commission and had good discussion at that group, and any commission members can add anything in, of course. But at the end of the day, this is pretty much a snapshot of where we believe this will be over the next 10 years. Commission members, would you like to help your fire chief?
Well, I would like to thank you, Chief, and Casey for the work you did in finding and securing a new engine. It's going on the 2027 budget, but we have reserved funds to make down payment on that right now. Would you or Casey like to just give a brief explanation of how that happened and how we saved 3 years of waiting for a truck and maybe $300,000–400,000 in the meantime?
So I'll take the first stab at it. Basically, in a nutshell, the commission itself has decided that we wanted to look at, we have been looking at purchasing a used apparatus, and we always looked at that, looking at different things on the market and all that kind of stuff. The last probably 6–7 months, we've been pretty aggressive. The commission said, hey, see what's out there, all that kind of stuff. We've had some different trucks, different places that, believe it or not, that other places in the country bought brand new trucks, ordered them 2.5 years ago, never put them into service, and been sitting in a fire station someplace with 0 miles on them, and literally not being used. So that's probably a pretty lavish community, probably. Here and over there, at the end of the day, we talked to different vendors, different people. We had talked to used market, everything else. When we're all said and done, one of the vendors that we were talking to, looking in the used market, has offered us a new vehicle, brand spanking new, that they put in their assembly line about 3 years ago with the date of 2024 on it for to be put together through the assembly line, and it's finally there. Probably around the end of November or early November this year, will be taking place in that truck. It's basically, I don't want to say a cookie cutter, but it's basically a program truck for a lot less money than ordering one out. So the district has basically secured that, and we got about $756,000 in that truck versus something that some of our neighbors have just bought and they have ordered for $1.2 million. The commission members basically said, fire chief, go spend this money, and I'll be honest with you, I have never would have thought in my 10+ years of being in Oregon that we'd be buying a brand new truck for this fire district. But we have the funds and we did it, and I can tell you that's going to be a truck for your folks here for 20–25 years. And it's, instead of what I say, I don't want to say bells and whistles, but I'm saying maintenance issues. A lot of the fire trucks now have electronic valves. You push little dots and the valves that open and close, if you understand what I'm saying. This is manual. You pull and it basically swings on a lever. This kind of stuff can't break, and it can't basically give you any issues later on, like in the 15 or 18-year-old mark, where you got to start buying all these electronic components to make this stuff happen. These motors and then all of these different switches, all this there you go. Thank you, Phil.
Glad I could help.
And that kind of stuff with all these different computers. So, but that's where we are with the truck. And I take any questions on this, or any other board members have anything to say about the 10-year CIP.
Indirectly, I have a question for you. You mentioned the decontamination area. When I don't know, was it a year ago, 6 months ago, something we were talking about that, it was more of a high
Yep,
priority.
yep.
Is it still a 2026 project, or has it been pushed out a little bit?
It's been pushed out a little bit.
Okay.
Because you know, that's been recognized by our consultant, Laura, and firm. And it's one of those things, we've tried to basically clear out some things and make it do with what we have today for real world. But to really do what needs to be done to that next level, we need to like open up walls and do some major changing with drains and a bunch of other stuff that is just not gonna be feasible until you really start changing some stuff down there.
Okay, so whatever is done on an interim basis, does that get you 10% farther than you are 6 months ago, or 20%, or 5%?
Right now, there is basically being nothing done on that project.
Okay, so
and
that's baseline.
That's baseline, and
Okay.
that's just taking care of the operation for today. You're looking down the road like 3 years out. I think the first stab at this is 2029 or so,
Okay.
2028, or maybe like anything.
Okay.
So it's a ways out.
Okay,
But we're hoping to have more information for you at the September meeting, and a better direction, and Tim's gonna be talking about that here in a little bit.
Yep.
okay,
Regarding the building.
okay.
What you'll also notice, in the CIP proposal, we've often talked about the ladder truck in the past years. That was to be in 2028, we pushed that out, possibly 2030, 2033. And Tim's gonna be talking about, no, you're not gonna talk about that. This is with the Southern Dane County Shared Service Fire Study that we're doing. And that ladder truck, may be in discussion as to, do we share it with somebody else? Do we have that just as our own truck? And that's still all up in the air. Try to do it as efficiently as we can, and that's being pushed out to 2030 or 2033.
So at the end of the day, and I understand everything that goes with it, I understand the consolidated study that we're looking at and everything else. I'm just gonna remind everyone of a couple different things. Unless someone, and I keep telling this to our commission and a lot of different people I talk to, basically is, unless another fire station shows up within 5 miles of the Village of Oregon or this 131 Spring Street address, a ladder will have to be someplace in that area. And right now, today, or tomorrow, or even probably 10 years from now, I don't see any other fire stations being built within 5 miles of this location. So at some point, day and time, to go to the next level from where we are today in our ISO ratings, we need to have an aerial device. And that is just the next step in growing a community. I have no other way of putting it, and if I didn't put it on the paper, I would not be doing my job. And then when I left and retired in 10 years or whatever I retire in, when somebody comes in and says, well, Lynn Spire didn't do that, whatever reason, he just kind of listened to everybody and just like went along with it. At some point, it will have to happen unless ISO totally goes away, which I don't see them going away. And again, for those that don't know what ISO is, Insurance Rating Services, they put a stamp on the fire departments and they tell you what your ratings are. So.
And what are your ratings?
Our ratings here in the Village of Oregon is a 2. And a 2 meaning pretty close to a number 1. City of Madison Fire Department is a number 1. So, and again, everything that this commission and the folks have done that are sitting around this table tonight, basically all the commitments that you have done over the last 10 years, plus that I've been here with our men and women, the people in the fire station, paying part-time people more, all of the different things, converting your old volunteer service EMS and fire people to what you have today to start preparing to build your community out. You've done a good job of it. It comes with a price tag. One of the things that I have said to Martin many, many times, and I've said it at town meetings in different places, everything comes back to money and it comes back to level of service. What kind of service do you want? How fast do you want the fire truck to be there? How many men and women do you want to be on that truck? And at the end of the day, do you want paramedic service or not? And how many ambulances deep do you need to be? I'll go back to the wins. I always talk about the wins because there's so many things we can disagree with in this world today. But the wins at the end of the day are we now capture about 100 to 110 more calls EMS a year right now by having part-time men and women in the fire station 24/7, all the time. When I was here 10 plus years ago, we didn't have that. Those calls went to our neighbors and pushed those calls out to the others. Those are being now captured. And they're only being captured by the support from our townships and also the Village of Oregon in making that happen. Those are the wins.
But that's also positive revenue.
That's correct.
For the district.
That's correct.
Because we get
Not that we just look at money, but yes, that is also part of it.
It's responsible financial performance.
It's a business operation. So, thank you.
And I just want to note as well, another big win is that ISO rating increased or improved to a 2 this year from a,
originally when I came here, it was a 4. So we moved a lot in the last 10 years.
and that new rating is this year.
So it's safe to say, no, like, that's a bad thing, is that right?
10 is pretty much, not ISO, but if you look it up, all the above, I think 10 is a non-existing fire department.
We don't want that. We don't want bucket of water.
But it's just, as I like to tell people, that's the highest rated suburban fire district in Dane County. Is right here, Oregon Area Fire.
Chief, I'd like to say I really appreciate your strategy or philosophy of purchasing vehicles and trucks and stuff. My newest vehicle at home, my new one is a 2015. We kind of try to take care of things and give them their full life, and I can certainly appreciate the not needing to fly by wire with everything and feeling like the mechanical ones are going to be the longer lasting ones. I understand. I still want to use a stick shift and a crank window or whatever, but
right, exactly.
So I can very much appreciate that. I see and also want to say all of these charts and everything, very detailed. Appreciate all of the detailed information you're providing to me and to the public to figure out where all this money goes. One thing I noticed in here, you talked about it, the air compressor, the cost being almost doubling already in just a few years, and the extractor as well. Where is that in here, and are we just waiting to purchase those things, as you said, because of the potential with the fire station?
Like the extractors, and for those that don't know what extractors are, basically commercial wash machines to wash your turnout gear, that kind of stuff. And again, one of them is, I have no idea, pretty original, and the other one came from a station that we blacked out in Dane County and came down there back in 2016 that we bought. We have been making everything work with parts and hiring service companies to come in and make things happen. Our breathing air compressor, again, 27 years old. You know, we do what we need to do we do our annual testing, we send it in for OSHA and all that kind of stuff. The tests are there, and then we just take care of parts and different things, and they've been fortunately finding things different places, or if we know that something's coming available that somebody else is replacing, we buy certain things that could go wrong so that we have it. So, if that answers your question.
They're not getting cheaper, I'm just
They're
wondering
not.
if
They're
they're
not.
in there on these tables that I'm not seeing somewhere, or do we need to
They're in
add
2031.
2031.
in 2031?
Yeah, yeah,
So another 5 years.
yep, yep.
In the second phase of the building improvement plan or replacement plan.
You know, then this is the operation as far as the fire trucks and everything else that we have. You know, you can do that same pendulum and you can kind of change that same thing just with HVAC. And I think the Village of Oregon has had their share of HVAC. Well, the fire district has their share of HVAC. And when you start talking about different things that are 20, 25 years old in this world, that stuff that has to run in 100-degree weather like it did and went through the last couple weeks, that stuff is only going to last so long, and then it gets very expensive to replace. Very expensive. I mean, we're talking $75,000, $100,000 to replace some air handlers on that building down there. Yes, sir.
Question, sir. It's simple. This is a great plan. I went through it extensively before this. know there's been a lot of work done on, so thank you, sincerely. And simple question for me, just to make this really easy. Do the men and women doing the job, do they feel like this is a good plan to give them what they need?
You'd have to ask them back there, you know, because that's one thing I never ask them. I just do it because I'm the admin person, you know, you just kind of take it and this is the way it's gonna be. And all the above, so they're there.
Hey, big guys.
What was the question?
You guys feel like this plan supports what you need to do the mission each and every day?
Absolutely. Some people think that not quick enough.
Yeah.
I mean, like the chief was talking with the HVAC, a couple of weeks ago when we were having that heat stretch there, we had, in the middle of the night, one of them let loose with the belt or something, and it sent a burning smell through the entire fire station, which panicked everybody in the fire station to the point that our chiefs had to come running down there and the full-timers had to come running down there until we tracked it down and figured out what it was, so.
It's never
Some
a
people,
good
some
day
people.
when your own fire station has
Some people think that bubble gumming and duct taping, you know, is only gonna get you so far.
Well, I was gonna say, if that happened to my house, you guys would be running down there, right? You know, and my wife would be freaked out, something like that.
Wonder where the smell comes from.
Exactly, yeah.
Good question, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, if not, we'll move on to item C.
All right.
Tim?
So I'd like to give you an update on the project. So quick recap of where we were. You know, our mission is public safety, protecting life and property, operating with long-term fiscal responsibility, and protecting the men and women who are doing the job, right? From our last meeting, what we talked about, the things we know is we've outgrown the current facility. We also know that our decontamination and turnout gear storage are not really up to where we'd like them to be a best practice. We ran through a couple of scenarios for an expanded facility that would serve our needs, and it doesn't really fit on the existing property. But we also know that downtown Village, from a response time standpoint, is ideal, okay? And so we considered all of the things we talked about last July. Do we change the existing facility? Do we go with a whole new facility? Do we look at multiple facilities? Satellite, 1 station, 2 stations. So we spent a lot of the last year digging in on all of that and examining that. The GIS data, which is able to take where all of the calls happened over the last 2 years and track how far that is from the fire station and how many of the calls can we get to in 4 minutes. That's the standard, right? Right now we're getting to about 70% of the calls in 4 minutes or less. We dug pretty deep into that data because we said, well, wait a minute, what if the growth in the village is all out west, out this way toward Village Hall? What if we put another several thousand people out here? What does that do to change the ideal location? We have a lot of data in there for when the firefighters are at the racetrack. Let's take that out. That's not really a call that you need to respond to in 4 minutes. And so we kept trying all these different scenarios, and it would move the perfect space for the fire station about 1/10 of an inch on the map. It really didn't make a difference. Within a stone's throw of where it exists is where we're gonna get the best coverage for the village and all 3 townships. And we looked at scenarios then for a second station. We looked at scenarios for a replacement station and tried all of the possible permutations we could come up with to say, what if we did this, what if we did that, what if we did this? And all we could find were cases where we could move to about 73% of the calls achieved in 4 minutes if we spent at least $20 million. And so our general feeling was that the juice just wasn't worth the squeeze on that. That would have meant a second station somewhere that would supplement. So it would have been very expensive and very little benefit versus being on the same site. So we've kind of eliminated that option. And now what we're studying is what could we do on the existing site to achieve some of these goals. The priorities would be to get some wider spaces between the apparatus so that the personnel are moving more safely within the building, improvement in the decontamination spaces, some reconfiguration of upper floors to help with the flow of personnel when a call comes in. And then, as the chief mentioned, some of the mechanicals are really in trouble. And so we're starting to flesh out those plans, but that's all happening at the same time. Our next agenda item is consolidation talk. And so we want to let that develop a little bit because the general consensus, and you'll hear this in a minute, is we've never gotten this far with consolidation conversations around Dane County. And so there's some strong optimism that maybe we're going to be able to do something here. That being said, we will still need to deploy fire engines and ambulances from something close to the location where they are today. Even if we had a single fire district covering all of Dane County, there would still need to be personnel and apparatus close to where the calls are. So the expectation is we're going to need a facility roughly where it is right now. We're looking at playing around with some ideas of, could we take certain apparatus off-site and store them elsewhere? We're just starting to think about that. But generally, because that consolidation is going to take us somewhere in the next 12 to 18 months, we feel like moving slowly at this point makes some sense. To the idea of bubble gum and duct tape, I get it. I'd really like to be fixing these problems, but we need to know what our destination is. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We expect to have a little bit more at the September meeting in terms of possible scenarios of what that would look like. We've seen a lot of different scenarios. We haven't really settled in on something we like. Okay? Questions?
The other point that I'd like to make is that we have put in the work to understand how much space we need. Maybe not how it's configured, but how much space do we realistically need for dormitory space, for apparatus space, for equipment space, etc. So we've been through that process. We have a very good idea of how much space we need, but the configuration is really going to rely on where it goes. So it's not like we've been doing nothing, waiting for something to happen with regards to consolidation. The other thing that we have done is we are taking some of these larger dollar items, like this new truck, and we're taking care of that now so it doesn't land smack dab in the process of planning for a new station. And so we're very thoughtfully putting those solutions in place while we have the money set aside for it and while we have the time. And we literally have been waiting for an opportunity, and that truck is an opportunity.
So if the odds are that the facility is going to remain essentially in the same rough area, then why wouldn't you do the HVAC work now? And why wouldn't you do the breathing air compressor and extractors now if they're going to essentially stay within roughly the same facility?
So that would definitely be something we'd have to run by our consulting team and all the above, but some of that stuff is going to change. And the building that they built, say, 25 years ago, I think 2000, right? 2001, 2000. When that building was built, they thought it was a good idea to put their men and women on the 3rd floor. That is probably not where most fire stations today have their men and women, basically for response times. It takes a considerable amount of time to get people off of the 3rd floor and get them downstairs in a safe manner without tripping and falling and all that other kind of stuff. So in today's world, the floor configuration and where that decon is and where the trucks are, and when people come out of a truck, you never cross the plane of a door into a living area, if that makes any sense. So everything stops with that truck, and then you go right into decon. So the way that makeup is down there today, it's like you would need to go through a bunch of different corridors to get the decon. So where the breathing apparatus is gonna be, as far as charging and all that kind of stuff, breathing apparatus needs to be deconned. Everything we have needs to be deconned with all the carcinogens and everything that's happening in today's world. That all happens today, but it all happens in one spot. Where does it happen? Happens over an open floor drain in the bay. Basically, that's where it is. And in a new operation, that all that stuff goes into a kind of a wash machine. Things get taken care of. It goes into the sanitary sewer lines and all that other kind of stuff. And your men and women are not anywhere exposed to any of this stuff that's going on. So we're doing a good job, and we changed a lot of things. You know, it's even like, you know, you go back 15, 20 years. You know, when I first came to Oregon, it wasn't 15 or 20 years ago, but 10 plus. We didn't have any emission control for any of our diesel engines and that kind of stuff. And you could literally go around the fire bay, and you could see the black soot basically from all of the exhaust from the diesel engines. Today, that's all gone. We were fortunate, Bill and Jeff and some of the others that went with me for a long time. We applied for an AFG grant, FEMA grant back in the day for equipment, and they gave us $100 and some thousand, 135, 140 grand to get that in that station, because they know that's a high priority. All of the intake and everything else, people being around that, men and women living in the same station, all that stuff just gets pulled in, the air handlers in different places, that it's not a good day for any of our people to be around it. Here nor there are some things that you would think you could do, but we're probably like, if we would spend money, we would just be moving things and replacing and going over again, if that makes any sense, Mark? So, and again, basically this is all driven by Laura and the consulting team at this point. So, can we really get a real good footprint and an idea of the future?
So I guess to that point then, because just looking at the increased price just in the last 5 years, presumably it's not gonna get any better in the next 5 years, but you may not need to wait 5 years pending the outcome of the next 12 to 18 months or whatever the timeline is for that.
So as we go through this process, as you've been on building and construction of town hall, things develop. And the more you learn, the more we find out that, what about this way, what about, so I would say Laura has gone through 16 different proposals.
A lot of them, yeah, a lot of them. I'm surprised she didn't send us some extra bills for all the services, but at this point, we're still within budget, and she hasn't even totally sent us all of her bills, I don't believe, so.
So we found out a lot of things that won't work. And rather than say, this is what we want to do, we just want to look at 2 or 3 more options before we come to you and say, here's what we want you to take a look at, here are the reasons why. So we're just not ready to put that in a plan, and hopefully we'll have something by September with more detail. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Tim. Status on the Southern Dane County Shared Fire Protection and Emergency Medical Services Feasibility Study and Implementation Plan, Project Update. Phil, do you want to tackle that? You started this whole thing. I mean, it's a good
I'm going to
thing.
share that with Mark.
Yeah.
Status, well, they're a couple months in. They've gone around and done interviews. I think many of you have already partaken in the interviews. So and they're also collecting data, as Glenn can tell you. And then they will start to incorporate, collate that data, use GIS information, and I think then they will come back on a report November, December. They will tell us whether it's feasible. They will tell us if it makes sense for all 6 participants to participate, or maybe one of those is not a good idea. And they will give us a basic outline of an implementation plan. So a lot of the work right now is going on in the background. The interviews, I think, are complete. Has everyone here had a chance to be interviewed that was going to? I think every community. And I think, you know, I'm assuming the data's been collected, so I think they're hard at work on their, happy to field any questions.
Okay. Phil, can you just refresh everyone's memory on those 6 participants today?
Stoughton, McFarland, Winona, Fitchburg, Oregon, Brooklyn. That's right.
And from time to time, Verona.
In the next election.
Exactly.
No, that's another, put it that way.
From time to time.
Any other questions?
I will just go back on this project that we have going. One of the things that I would like to really talk to the town of, to the village of Oregon, and I know this was driven by probably the village president and probably the village administrator, and I probably was really vocal to them all along. When it comes to this consolidation project, one of the things that I told them both multiple times over is, do not forget your township partners. Do not forget your township partners. Probably about 2,100 times, both phone calls, text messages, emails, and probably in person another 2,100 times. I have went through these type of projects. This is probably my number 3 or 4 in my tenure of Dane County since late 80s, early 90s of being around this stuff. I will say again, this is gone about as far as it ever could be with quite a few different municipalities. At the end of the day, the consultants will tell you the 2 things that you need to make sure that happens is function and finances. If you do not have functions and finances working and everybody feels that they're part of this, this is not going to work. The second part of that is I'm about full disclosure. If I know something, I want Lynn to know it. I want other members around that are around in these operations to know what's going on. So I have been, any of these updates that I've been getting through this McMahon group, I've been pushing it to all your clerks, and I'm hoping your clerks are getting it to your town boards and all the above. I know what's happening on the village side because I see all of the postings and I see the agenda packets. Candy and group here has put me on that list a long time ago, so I see everything that goes out. I know you guys are seeing it. But those are the things that we have to have. And at the end of the day, again, like Phil said, it might not be right for some and all that kind of stuff. If nothing else, there are a lot of smaller little spin-offs already that people are at least talking and thinking about doing some other things differently than what they've done today. And if nothing else, those are already some possible wins for the future and all that kind of stuff. So believe me, there's gonna be the study, and then it's gonna be, this is the study, and then you're gonna hear these Dane County isms that are gonna be like all of the reasons for different things. And you don't have to necessarily just look at these 6 communities. All you have to do is look around Dane County and look at different things that are happening. Those same things will be the challenges as we move forward. So at the end of the day, I think it's a good thing, and I think it's a good snapshot and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see where it goes. We'll give it a very good, promising, outcome, hopefully.
Hey, thanks, Chief. Announcements, next joint meeting, Wednesday, September 30th, 2026, here at the Village Hall Community Room at 6:30 p.m. Adjournment of the boards. Phil?
Without objection, the village board stands adjourned.
Town of Dunn?
We didn't convene.
Town of
so-
Oregon?
Without objection, town of Oregon board is adjourned.
Town of Rutland, without objection, the board is adjourned. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
Good job.